Hey guys, this took forever to put together. I hope you like it. I have a short third-person video showing what Luba looks like while tackling hills, then I'll switch to first person. Then I'll switch to first person from Luba's camera perspective with a map overlay and give some commentary. The city cuts this side and will really gash the dirt because they use a big tractor. There it goes, you can see it will drive kind of on an angle. It knows it's too close to the edge of the zone, and so it will turn away from the zone and spin the wheels, and as a result it ends up kind of sliding sideways along the edge, which is great. That is quite the beast. I turn on 5 times speed here at the video. The video is just going to be super long because it takes several hours to do all this cutting, and I just had to make some decisions and figured I'm basically going to set almost all the video to 5x. Some of it I'll even go to 25x, and I can just provide some narration. I can include a little bit of sound like I just had right there, and this is only going to last about 4 minutes before I'm going to switch to the first person view that is directly from the Luba. Most people on Facebook and Reddit are under the impression, including the Momotion reps, that you can only be logged into the app on a single device at a time. But for some reason, I found that I'm able to do it. It might have to do with entering video mode, but that's what I did. I turned on the video on one phone, opened the app and logged in on my other phone, and brought up the map. And so I screen recorded both of them at the exact same time. So you'll see the first person view in a minute after it finishes up. This gives you a little idea of the lines, and they're beautiful lines, and they stayed for at least a week so far. Now, this is a video that I took a few days before the next video, so this is not the same path and the same, mowing that you'll see later. So this is just knocking down the high stuff. It doesn't get it all. And so a few days later, I send it out to mow again. That time it's in Crisscross, and that's when I recorded both the first person view and the overview map. So don't think that this is going to be repetitive or anything like that. It's a totally different mowing. In fact, I adjusted the no-go zone so that way in hopes that it wouldn't fail. But as you'll see, this time it fails. It will get stuck. And then in the first person view, you'll also see it get stuck. So I'll talk you through all of that. There's just going to be a lot of footage. It's going to be about a 25-minute video. I tried to cut it down as much as I could, but I started with over 3 hours. The app that I've been using to edit these, because it would just take way too much time for me to edit these videos on a professional program, so I've just been doing it right on my phone, so that way my wife can watch the baseball game and I can just edit these videos. I don't even have to worry about transferring the video off my phone onto a computer. But that has a lot of limitations on the videos and the overlays and all of that, and even the audio. So I was pretty limited in exactly what I wanted to do with this video. So to fill all of the dead air, My plan is to upload this to YouTube, and then they seem to have an audio option. I've never used it before, but I guess it's some royalty-free music, and so I'll play that lightly in the background to fill some of this dead air that will happen. But as you can see, this is a new day, and I have the overlay up. Hopefully you can see that well enough. The natural clock that is on my phone is also running in the top left corner. So there are occasionally going to be some jump cuts when it gets stuck. And so you can always check that and see if the minutes jumped ahead. And that will tell you if there was a jump cut. I also try to call it out here on the video. But for the most part, I have everything included. I just sped it up different amounts, but right now this is on 5 times speed. So you can see it's hitting that. I would like to run it on level 2, but I knew there were still some really tall weeds on that ditch, so I ran it on level 1, so that way it will wait until the bumper is triggered before turning around. So that's what you can see happening. It handles that all really well because that is really close to the edge of the zone and it's bumping, so it handled it really well and didn't get stuck. It's a little extra bumping that you wish didn't happen, but overall not bad. And so this is it laying down its first laps, and they're what make that nice pretty lines. You can see it was going back to start its mowing, and it was doing a little bit of that slalom style where it sort of zigzags when it's not mowing and it's going through around the perimeter. Nobody's been able to figure out why it does it or what it's doing, but it is interesting. You can see it on the video. So now we're starting to get on the tilt, and so this gives you a really good view of just how how steep the ditch bank is. You can look out and see the horizon, how crooked it is as the Luba turns and goes down into the slope. So there it goes. You can occasionally see it slide, and it will then try to get back on course, and you can actually see it on the overlay. It will tell you that the cutting height is being adjusted. And so when the cutting height is, see that cutting height? The cutting height gets adjusted automatically whenever it's not cutting. And then the cutting height will go back to where it should be, wherever I set it, which is on the highest setting. So it should say 3.9 when it's cutting, and then I think it goes to 3.1 when it's trying to drive along the perimeter, get in place. So you can see the grass a little too high, probably shouldn't be cutting like this, but this is what I would call a torture test, just to see what it can do. So now it's heading back, and it's going to climb down this steep incline. There it goes. I think at this point is where it turns around, actually. It goes down there, comes back. Not entirely sure what it's thinking. And then I think there we go. Now it's coming back. Yeah, so I turned it up to 10 times speed for all this, just to get it through. As you can see on the left side of the screen, it was just taking care of some of the zigzags that are not on the hill. And now it's coming back to do these. This is an extremely challenging part. It gets extremely steep on that part. The entire hill is not equal steepness. In the middle, it's slightly more rounded, and then on the edges, it becomes more of a cliff. So I know this from trying to drive my mower on it, and you just cannot get the mower on it. But as you go towards the middle, you feel more comfortable sliding down into the ditch, and then all of a sudden you go, oh, whoa, whoa, whoa. Now it's too steep as it kind of turns into more and more of a cliff, and you try to climb out. You can see it pauses, see the cutting height adjusting. That's it. Knowing that it slid off course, trying to get back on course, readjusting the mowing height. And now you can see it says task pause, so that means it officially decided it was stuck. So you're going to see some jump cut. So now it's been rescued. I also lost my overlay. I actually recorded it, but it was just too difficult to put the overlay in the app, and I just didn't have enough time to do all that editing. I basically had to put the overlay on it, export it, then restart the job, and exporting takes a while on videos that are 3 hours long. Then once the job is exported, I can restart and make a new whatever you would want to call that project in the video app. And then when I would cut out all the stuff and speed up the stuff, then the overlay and the main video would do the same thing. If I didn't do that, I have to do it individually, and that makes it incredibly difficult and time consuming to edit one and then do the exact same thing at the exact same time on the other to ensure they stay in sync. So anyway, the main reason I wanted the overlay was just to show everybody that you can log into 2 apps at the same time, at least on my situation. What I found is it seems like some people have experiences that others don't. So it's going to make a left turn and go around the, this is, I think, 1 time the speed, and it's teetering. It's only on 2 wheels, and it's trying to back up, and it does. It successfully does, and that is the brilliance of all-wheel drive. If you had 2-wheel drive, I can't imagine any way it would be able to get out of that situation. So very impressive Luba showing off the 4-wheel drive. It's finished all of the mowing laps going in one direction, and it begins doing the crisscross that go in the other way, perpendicular. So it starts going up and down this slope, which is supposed to happen second. But that's what's happening now. This is the most difficult part, and so it didn't get stuck except for the one time when it was going along the side of the ditch bank. But when it starts going up and down the ditch bank, and this is on 0-point turn. I used to have it on multi-point turn, but I switched to 0-point turn just so I could understand what it was doing. The multi-point turn, it's a little confusing. Like, did it see an object? What's it looking at? What's it trying to do? Whereas if you do 0-point turn, it's very obvious. When it turns, you know exactly what it's doing, and you can understand better what it's thinking. So I put it on 0-point turn until it tears up my lawn. Then I'll probably put it back to multi-point, but it's given me a much better understanding on what's happening. It doesn't seem so random and bizarre anymore. But that's what's going on. It's doing a 0-point turn on the side of that ditch, and you can see when it goes down, it's going down deep, and it's turning around, and as it makes that turn, it's sliding backwards. And so the key is, can it make the turn before it slid too far? And so several times it's going to eventually slide too far and know it's out of the area, and it locks the wheels. Now my understanding is if it turns itself off, then the wheel locks come off and it will roll down the hill. I have not experienced that yet. I have gotten to the point where it won't connect to the app, I believe, and so I'm not sure. Maybe it partially powered down or what, but I do know one time as I was pulling it out, I tapped the power button and it just immediately took off, like just wanting to roll down the hill. Whoa, so I learned my lesson to not power it off until I had it up higher and didn't have to worry about it rolling anymore. But it's possible when it auto powers down, it keeps the wheel locks on, which means it's draining battery. The way it locks its wheels is by running a current through the motors, so that way they're locked in place. So Anyway, that is what you're watching. It climbed down into the abyss and try to make a turn. Oh, it almost got stuck. It's coming forward. There's a really bad patch here. This has nothing to do with the incline. So anybody that has a similar slope, two things. I wouldn't worry about buying this mower. It's going to be better than any other mower you can buy for it anyway. Number two, just don't mow this far into the ditch. I mean, that's my plan, is just to raise the area so that way it doesn't have to climb in. I could never mow this far down with my normal mower anyway. It's already going to mow more than I ever could. And third, this is an extremely bumpy ditch. That's what I started the video off by saying. The tractors that the city uses will tear this thing up. You also have things like moles and nutria that tear it up, mud daubers, things like that, plus just natural, the sinking of the dirt from erosion and things like that. So this is incredibly bumpy, and it has some, what is the proper term for that? It's like a clump of grass. That's what it would be. There are certain clumps of grass that are just like sticking up and very tough for it to drive over. That's actually the reason the one spot it gets stuck on when it's going along the ditch, is that it appears the tuft of grass can actually hold the mower up, and so all four wheels are practically off the ground, or at least not enough grip. So that's why I get stuck going that way. When it's going up and down the ditch, though, the reason it gets stuck isn't really because it gets stuck, it's because it slips too much. And the second that it's outside of the area, it just stops trying, which is a good safety feature to have. There's about 7 minutes left to this time lapse, so just enjoy it. I don't have much more to say. It does get stuck. It does not finish the task that I set it out to do. It was getting late. I didn't want it to mow when the dew started setting in, so I didn't save it any more times. I tried to keep a little bit of like my hand on the Luba every time I had to go and rescue it, so that way you wouldn't have to look too hard to see when I cut out time. But basically I was busy, and so I didn't notice immediately when it would get stuck, so it would sit for a few minutes and I'd go out and get it. So I included, you'll see my hand grab it and slide it up and get it started again. I included just enough of that, hopefully, to make it obvious that it had gotten stuck, so that way you can see just how far it can go on its own. And so I think it's more important to know just how good it's doing to also see when it fails. If you try to hide when it fails, then people can assume all sorts of things. Well, if you made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. Leave a comment on what else you would like to see. I am in the beta testing group, so I have a new firmware that says it's supposed to handle obstacles better. So I'd really like to videotape some tests with obstacles. So if you have any ideas for that, let me know.